Hey teachers, it's Laura. Today you are going to learn the benefits of implementing dot talks in your class and how to do it easily. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at Laura Hathaway for more tips and tricks. Let's get going. Dot talks are the most basic form of number talks. Why should you be doing dot talks? It's an easy entry point for students. First off, it helps with number sense immensely. It's going to serve you well. It's going to help with cardinality. It's going to help with subtilizing, and it's going to help with oral language. It's going to help the kids explain how they know something in math, which we know is sometimes the hardest thing to teach. So you might be familiar with the book Number Talks by Sherry Parrish. This is where I got a lot of my details. Some of the other ones I also have received from other professional development that I have given or that I have taken myself. So if you want a full textbook or more specific details, make sure you check out that book. So this is my notebook in here, and I have all the different dot talks that I have used, recorded my notes, things like that, student responses. So what is a dot talk? A dot talk is simply that. You are talking about dots. Dots oftentimes are less threatening than numbers because most children can count, oftentimes even before they can read or identify a number. So even if you're doing this lesson 5th grade, you do want to start super basic because you want to use this experience to help establish class norms, expectations, procedures, and things like that. So when you do a dot talk, the teacher, you are going to be holding up different cards one at a time. You're going to show a number quickly. You're going to show it again, a little longer. And the third time, even a little longer. Fourth time, you're going to leave it up. Now, right now, this is only one dot, so it's going to be super fast. And you want to teach your students how they should respond. So in my classroom, I have my students give me a thumbs up just right here when they know the answer. I'd rather have them do it right here instead of like this, because when they do this, oftentimes some of your other students will start feeling anxious if they don't know the answer. So just a thumbs up right here is great. So this, then you're going to switch. Again, this is like the very first day you even introduce it. You're going to go to 2, 3, and then as time goes on, you're really going to see the magic in dot talks, and here's why. You're going to start having conversations with your class about how these are the same and how they are different, helping them, facilitating them to get to the language of value. This 3 is the same value as this 3. As you progress, again, sure, there's going to be those numbers that if they know how to subtilize, which means if they can see a set number, set dots like on a dice, they know exactly what that is. Some kids developmentally don't know that yet, though. They may still have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even more so, the reason why you should be doing these in your classroom. But then you're going to start switching it up in things like this. Again, facilitating the discussion about how they are the same, how they are different, and focusing on the value. That really, in this exercise also, the numbers don't matter. The colors don't matter. It's really the value that we're looking for. Then you can start introducing things like this as well. A student, if you even hold it like this, might assume that it's 5. So you can have that conversation about how it's actually 4. They just don't usually see an array like this or a formation of this with the number 4. So then here we go. Now that you've established your norms and your expectations for your class, now you can start throwing in some more obscure ones. And when I say obscure, it means numbers or shapes, formations that a child normally does not see. This is usually the first one I'm going to show you right now that I do with my students. Again, the first time you show them it's quick, and you're going to tell them it's quick because you don't want them to feel bad that they don't know what it is right away. Quick and down. Then you're going to hold up again a little longer and down. You do want to prompt it. You say, ready, eyes up, because you don't want them to miss it. And if they do miss it, you can say, it's okay. And the last time you hold it. If you need to turn it, you can turn it. Students are doing this in their head. Later on, you can offer for them to make this, but at first you want them to be visualizing it in their head. Here comes the next part. Now, so far you've just been calling on students and they've been explaining how many dots there are and how they know. Here comes the true magic of dot talks. One more tip. When you are making your cards, this is made out of cardstock. I just take one big sheet of cardstock and I chop it in half. Then I get these sticky dots. Really, any brand will do. But you want to choose the dots that are dark in color. This is going to help students visually. So yellow, I hardly ever use. I use blue or black as my primary color, and then my main color, and then I'll add other colors in when I want to differentiate or if I want a certain dot to stand out. So for example, later on when you're building and you want to bring awareness, that's when you switch up the colors, or when you're doing pieces like this. The other tip I have is that when you're doing it, you want to be very thoughtful. Do the best you can to space numbers or the dots out evenly. If these two were to be too close, then automatically the child is probably going to see these two first before they see this third one. So another example would be when you do something like this, you really want to be thoughtful about trying to space them out equally. Again, if these three were in close proximity and this one was down here, the child's brain is going to think about 3 and 1. And it's not going to look at it in any other variations or other forms. So again, when we get to bigger numbers, such as this one, you'll notice this, I did it strategically. I put the 1 by itself way over here and I made it blue because I wanted the children eventually to think about 7 or 6, and 1 more is 7 and 1 more is 8. So you want to be thoughtful about how you place your dots and what colors you are using, depending on what conversation you are trying to foster. All right, so we are actually going to do a demo lesson right now of a dot talk. So again, you're going to be warming your students up, priming them, starting with smaller numbers from 1 to 6 on cards. And then you're going to pull out an obscure one. And when I say obscure, I mean a pattern they probably usually don't see, like this. You're going to show it quick. And pull it down, show a little longer, pull it down. That's not up there yet. And then you're going to hold it. And all the while you are prompting them, give me a thumbs up if you know how many dots there are. Wait till the whole class has their thumbs up, or the whole class is showing you that they've had time to process. Then you go ahead and you start calling on students. You call on volunteers. Now what I do is I actually usually use chart paper behind me. And so that way their answers can live on the chart paper and then they can go out around the room. So I would say, okay, who wants to share, or however you want to choose students. Okay, and maybe it's Maria. I'd say, okay, Maria, how many dots do you see? And she might say, 5. Okay. First thing is I'm going to write her name, give her ownership of her thoughts. And I'm going to write 5 because that's how many she sees. And I'll ask her, how do you know there's 5? And I'll listen, and then I'm going to record her thoughts. So let's say Maria said that she saw these 4 and then 1. And I'm going to try to write her words down exactly as she said it. So maybe she said, I saw 4 and 1. I'm going to write 4 and 1. I was like, great, thanks, Maria. Switch colors. Reason why I switch colors, it's not because it's a child's favorite color, but it actually helps those visual learners differentiate between the different thoughts that kids have when it comes to dot talk. So switch to a different color. All right, and then I'd ask someone else. Okay, maybe Raul. Okay, Raul. How many dots did you see? Okay, 5. Raul, how do you know? Now, he might say exactly what Maria said, and that's fine. If he did, I'm going to actually write it. I'm going to make sure he verbalizes it. It's okay if he repeats it, because again, he's practicing oral language. But maybe he has something different. Maybe Raul sees 3. And if he says 3, I would say, Raul, which 3? Can you draw it in the air for me? Maybe he circles the top 3. Okay, and 2. And how many were there? He says 5. Well, how do you know? Well, I know 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, so then I'm going to write 3 plus 2 is 5. Notice I did not put an equal sign because he did not say equal. He said is. So you want to verbatim write down what they say out loud. So then it keeps going. You're going to do about 4 to 6. And then you're going to turn and have a conversation as a class. You are prompting, you are facilitating them to look for things that are the same and that are different. the big overall thing you want your kids to take away is that everyone came to the same answer, but that maybe they did it differently or maybe they did it the same. And that's what's so awesome about math. Our brains work differently. And so we might see things differently, but still come to the same value. And that is the power of dot talks. Now, if you are teaching older than kindergarten first, you definitely can still be using dot talks. You want to start with simple ones though, because you want the children to feel invested in the process, to understand the process and procedures. But eventually you are going to be scaling up to things like this. Multiplication. You can also change this a little bit though, by changing the colors and things or mixing them up. You can also still do those obscure ones. They're just going to be more. They're going to be looking for sets inside the whole. So if I were to take this one before I show the students, and let's say I actually covered up the middle dot of each 5 fractions, decimals, there's so many ways that you can apply this to the concept that you are teaching in math, depending on your grade level.